Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Tamisha, also known as Mrs. Coda. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about how to treat and work with a dementia patient. If this is a topic of interest for you, I suggest that you stay tuned and you check out this video. All right, let's go. Okay, so it is important to understand that with dementia, there's three levels, right? You have early, middle, and late stages. And in each stages, you're going to have to modify the way you're working with this patient. Things are going to shift, you're going to shift. It's just a natural progression of dementia, unfortunately. So when you're working with dementia patient, you have to understand that there will be either poor to no carryover of new information, of new learned techniques. So our job is to compensate and do remediation when we're working with these patients. So with that said, I'm going to give you 3 tips on what you can do to improve your sessions and also to um, try to allow a longer, greater carryover of information for your patient. So the first tip is this. You want to keep your interventions meaningful and functional for your patient. Okay, so you're not going to do anything that has no greater meaning, right? For example, doing a card game activity, right? There's no connection there for that patient. So you want to stick with the basics. You want to stick with ADLs, right? You're bathing, you're dressing. These are functional tasks that they were doing for years in their lives, right? And I come from a skilled nursing facility background. So a lot of the things that I talk about and the tips that I provide is for the geriatric population. That is my niche. um, so like I was saying, you want to keep things meaningful and you want to keep things functional, right? Functional activities. Tip number 2, you have to understand, like I mentioned previously, our job is to provide compensatory strategies as well as remediation. Okay. So our goal is to assist that person or assist caregivers in taking care of that person, right? Our goal is try to sustain a patient with whatever skills they currently have for as long as they can have it, right? And then when we see the shifts with their memory, with their behaviors, with their function, that's where we will bring in compensatory strategies. For example, the use of pictures and the use of other devices when they're becoming a fall risk. Maybe we'll change a wheelchair cushion. And there's so many other things that we can mention. And actually, if you keep watching this video, at the end, I'm going to give you specifics on what you can do during your sessions. All right. Tip number 3. We know that we cannot fix anything, but what we can use is the patient's family, caregivers, whoever is involved in their care. We can utilize them in our therapy sessions. We can utilize their input, which is going to help us to work with them and also help them to be able to take care of the patient. Okay, so part of your intervention would be a lot of caregiver training. So, like I said earlier, we do not fix dementia patients, right? We can only support them as they go through these different stages. And a sense of supporting them is also supporting the people that is around them. All right. So when you utilize family, as I mentioned before, finding things that are meaningful, that might be maybe music, right? That might be, for example, how you can integrate this into a session is, let's say your patient, he's an older male, and let's say he loved to golf, right? You can incorporate golf in your session. How you can do that? Let's say he has been falling, he's a frequent faller. Let's say you're working on his balance, all right? So you can use golfing as an activity. How you do this? Let's say you don't have a golf club, right? What I have done in the past is I have actually used a cane and like a tennis ball to simulate golfing. And that is the way we use balance. And we incorporate balance, I should say, into the session. And that's how we bring in like the golfing feel. Now, again, like I said, it comes at different stages. This is probably something I would do more of the early, maybe close to mid stage of dementia, but obviously, once we get to late stage, you're not going to be doing anything like that. So usually this kind of intervention would probably happen in the early stage because there may be more of awareness when, hazards and falls starts happening, to kind of curb that and try to keep their balance to a certain level so it does not get worse at that time. It will probably most likely progress, right, as they get more confused, as they're not recognizing hazards. But these are just some things that you can do in your intervention. Again, like I said, depending on what level they are at. So, as I promised, I'm going to give you also some bonus tips specifically on what you can do with your dementia patients for interventions. So, here's a bonus. What you can use is memory aids, right? I'm sure you guys have probably heard about that already. A lot of times in the early stages, this is where you're going to have those memory aids. So memory aids can be journals, calendars. It could be a notepad. It can be pictures, um, medication reminder. These are all really good tools that you can train and implement in that early stage of dementia, which is memory aids. Um, as I mentioned before, it's important to get family and caregiver involved. So part of your treatments and your intervention can be nursing or caregiver education, right? So this is performing demonstration and return demonstration with them, with the patient. Okay, that can be an intervention for you right there. Working on basic ADLs and tactile and verbal cueing, showing them how to do things. You're probably going to need to incorporate a decent amount of hand over hand, depending on what stage your patient is in. But you never stray away from ADLs. You try to keep ADLs for as long as you can with your patient. That is like your go to intervention for sure. And also, you're going to look at environmental changes. What can you do to adapt their surroundings? All right. Do you need a picture of a toilet on the bathroom door? Do you need to declutter? Do you need to shift things around in the room? Do you need to put things a certain way? These are all key things. I'm not really a huge fan on alarms, even though alarms can be very beneficial. It's just sometimes with alarms, it can startle a patient and it can create a fear and a chaos and can get them agitated. So you got to be very mindful when you're using alarms with dementia patients. So I hope that this information was insightful for you. If you do want to learn more on how you can communicate with dementia patients, or let's just say just how to deal with difficult patients, in my book here, 12 Case Studies, I actually go over it, and it's called How to Motivate the Unmotivated. And that's right there in my book. If you want to read more about working with dementia patients, definitely be sure to get my book. In this book, I cover a lot of different cases. As I mentioned, in this book, you can also read about a case study with a dementia patient. So, again, if you're interested and you want to learn a little bit more on how you can document, how you can conduct an intervention, how you can communicate, and how you can work with challenging patients, in my book, 12 Case Studies, you can get your hands on this. It is on Amazon, and you can also get your digital copy. If you just go to the description below, you will find it. All right. So I hope that this video was helpful. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. If there's a topic that you would like for me to cover, please go ahead and leave it in the comment below. All right. Till next time. Bye, guys.